Hey, welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Boykinen. I'm here in beautiful California. What the fuck is wrong with this connection? Where the flannel shirt is our state flag, the pit bull is our state bird, and cannabis is our state flower. Again, I was really busy yesterday. I've been really busy for a lot of days. But there was a tweet that I saw circulating quite a bit that it's a clip from TYT Old School, and I'm not entirely sure what my copyright situation is, but I'm gonna play a few seconds of it and stop it and then play a few seconds of it because I think I get 15. This is Cenk from Old School. I'll let him talk.
I'm not a democratic socialist of America. And now the last part might make people even the most angry. Comrade? No, I'm not calling anybody comrade.
Okay. I just want to point out that Cenk's going to go ahead and have a problem with the word comrade. Am I really buffering this bad, or is it just how it looks from this end? Somebody tell me, because I'd like to know. Jesus Christ. The guy who has a show named after the organization that took part in the Armenian genocide, this guy, the guy who named his show The Young Turks, does not like you using the word comrade, would not like me using the word comrade, doesn't want to be associated with that kind of nonsense. He's got a little bit more to say in this clip. And if my shit ever decides to start working right, we'll get to that.
Okay, so it's incredibly stupid politics. Okay, and
your politics are stupid because you're the Democratic Socialists of America, and you refer to your fellow sisters and brothers in a non-binary, gender-neutral term like comrade, which, if you go back all the way to the Latin of it, means we share a room together or something like that. You're cohabiting a room. That's all comrade is. But Cenk has a much different approach to what this is. Remember,
and I'm not going to do it. And I don't. And you're not my comrade. Okay, you're a fellow citizen. I love you. I'm going to fight for you like no one fights for you.
Can you imagine gaslighting your audience to tell them that no one's gonna fight for you like I'm gonna fight for you because I am a super capitalist who really wants money out of politics. If you just donate to my organization, we'll show you how to get money out of politics. And by the way, subscribe to this thing and pay us money and become a fucking Wolfpack member or become this thing, do the Justice Democrats. Just all it takes is a lot of your money to get the couple of things about money that I don't like out of the system that I am trying really hard to become a part of. That's fucking Cenk Ugyur. That is a magic talking buffalo telling you that Soviet terminology is bad after naming his show The Young Turks. There's something about money, and maybe it's just Hillary Clinton donor money. I don't know. It could be. But there's something about money that makes you lose all sense of irony whatsoever. I don't know if it's intentional on Cenk's part, really, like to be that obviously stupid. to be that obviously fucking flat out, I'm going to take umbrage with the way that you use this word because it's a Soviet word. It's not. But I named my show The Young Turks with no sense of irony whatsoever. Now I want to make this perfectly clear. If you go back through the history of Slow News Day episodes, if you go back and if you looked at any of the writing or the work that I'd done prior to this, I have always been very, very critical of Cenk Ugyur and TYT because I've had a lot of interactions with the guy over the past like 15 or so years. I fucking shudder to admit this shit, but at one point I was one of the cool kids on the Daily Co's, like early 2000s. All right, don't fucking hate me for this shit. We all make mistakes. There's a time and place for everything. It's called college, you know. At any rate, I have a very long track record of pointing out the fact that Cenk Ugyur is a right-wing quasi-libertarian grifter who built a network because he found a marketable space. He found a place where he could operate. And to be perfectly honest, there was no real outlet for left-leaning progressives whatsoever. So he saw a niche that he could exploit. And he did it, and he did it to the point to where now people were, you know, handing him $20 million. He's built a successful brand on fleecing progressives, building up their hope, giving them very good talking points, and occasionally a journalist or two that will do very, very good work for him, help increase his brand, help increase his national profile, and then he will fire them because they're actually doing the work that exposes the rot in the system, whereas Cenk is nominally just pointing it out and then asking for money. I don't want to spend too terribly long on a guy that I consider to be doing more harm than good, especially in terms of how this movement plays out. I couldn't pass up a moment to shine a little light on the fact that Cenk has a problem with the word comrade and, you know, names his show after the people who helped facilitate the Armenian genocide. That's just to me more proof that we live in a fucking cartoon. To transition here real quick though, onto what I hopefully think is a little bit of good news. Gavin Newsom yesterday signed into law a new bill that will take place the 1st of next year. And what it did is it changed the wording for when police are allowed to use lethal force. Up until yesterday, the requirement for using lethal force in California was it was allowable if a reasonable officer would have come to the exact same conclusion and used lethal force in that situation. Now, what that did is it just it created a culture where all you had to do is fall back on your training, and you had to repeat the phrases, "I was in fear for my life," or "he was reaching his waistband, and that's why I had to unload 55 rounds in 3 seconds into this car," or "that's why I had to shoot this dude 17 times in the back while he was running away because I was afraid for my life." And that's all it took. As of yesterday, they've slightly changed the wording of it. And here's where it gets fucking complicated and open to interpretation. But it is ultimately a step in the right direction. Where to go? The new law reflects a compromise between civil rights advocates who will say it will save lives and law enforcement groups that want more clarity on the use of force, but do not want to undermine legal protections for officers. What that essentially means is they still want officers to be able to murder somebody in cold blood. They want them to have protections for that, but they've agreed that, okay, maybe it's gotten a little out of hand. Here we go. The whole debate boils down to two words: necessary and reasonable. This has been Adler of California Capital Public Radio speaking. I'm quoting an NPR article here because I originally found this through Blacklisted News, but even Blacklisted News has to source where the original reporting comes from. In this case, it came out of NPR. I agree with Ron Placone in his assessment that NPR stands for nice, polite Republicans, but this does seem to be a fairly decent piece of straight reporting. At any rate, necessary and reasonable. Right now, deadly force is justified, and this is what I talked about at the top of this little segment here, if a reasonable officer would have acted similarly in that situation. When the new law takes effect in January, the standard changes to when the officer reasonably believes deadly force is necessary. So again, what we're going to do is fall back onto the agreed methods of police training that determine when lethal force is necessary. Now, this is going to be something that's going to be open to interpretation by whoever comes up with the training manuals, by whatever judges set whatever legal precedent for what is and isn't force. It's a little bit too vague, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And I don't have a lot of faith in the justice system in general, the California justice system specifically. What I would like to see are groups like the ACLU pull their heads out of their asses and come together to find a reasonable, fucking realistic, hey, look, dude, unless you're being fired at, unless you're fucking boxed in, and like there's got to be lethal force is an absolute last resort, not well, it's part of our training to pull the trigger anytime we get a little nervous. That's really fucking scary. I think it's a step in the right direction, but there's really so much gray area and so much room for interpretation that it makes me nervous that this would be abused incredibly. But here's hoping. I will try to link that article in the show notes when I'm done. But moving on to the lovely realm of surveillance. If you've watched the show at all, you've heard me go off about surveillance capitalism, our civil liberties, the invasion of privacy, NSA spying, CIA spying. It's something that I've been concerned about, the majority of my adult life and most of my teenage life. I co-host the Free Assange Vigils. Like, this is, it's baked into what the show is what I'm getting at. But this comes out of Common Dreams from yesterday. The New York Times, which obtained Trump administration's request to Congress, this is a request to extend the NSA surveillance program that Edward Snowden helped bring to light and expose in 2010. There we go. The law. The law is called the USA Freedom Act. So it's one of those things that have these great Orwellian doublespeak titles. The law in the books that allows the NSA to gain access. That's a bee floating right into the camera, huh? Neat. Rad. I love live shit. The The law enacted after the intelligence contractor Edward Snowden revealed the existence of the program in 2013 is set to expire in December, but the Trump administration wants to make it permanent. The administration claimed in its letter to Congress, which was signed by outgoing National Intelligence Chief Dan Coats, that the NSA has suspended the spying program. But Free Press Action Government Relations Director Sandra Fulton said in a statement, this should give little comfort to those whose privacy rights are routinely violated by authorities. The White House is calling for a reauthorization of a program that security agencies have used to spy on innocent people, violate their privacy, and chill free speech. The NSA program permits the mapping of relationships among members of marginalized communities and distant associates of targeted individuals, even when most individuals in these communities were never suspected of wrongdoing. And this is one of those things that Bill Binney, who former NSA codebreaker, one of the smartest guys on the planet, co-founder of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, VIP's great organization. They do fantastic work. It's one of those things that Bill Binney has exposed every time he goes on somebody's show, and talks about how there's a oh Jesus Christ, I'm sorry about that, son. I get too much about that. At any rate, Bill Binney has told us that if there's an individual that's being targeted, and the example he likes to use is the Carter Page in Trump's campaign. Carter Page was targeted for surveillance because of the way that our laws are written and because of the way that we have incorporated surveillance into every aspect of our civil work, extracurricular, our lives. If Carter Page is being targeted for surveillance, as Bill Binney has shown us, that means that there's a two-hop connection in terms of surveillance. So it's whoever Carter Page talks to and whoever they talk to. Two people removed away from a targeted individual allows for the NSA to spy on everyone that the person that Carter Page talked to everyone. That's a lot of people when you start opening up how many different phone calls political operatives make on any given day, and how many people are actually only 3 people removed from a targeted individual. Which, by the way, if you've got any friends that are currently working on a campaign team, you're talking to someone whose name is on a record. You know, like your shit is open to surveillance at that point. This is the same president who just a week or so ago said we need to do more about stopping crimes before they happen, essentially advocating a fucking Minority Report-esque pre-crime division. This is the same president who handpicked as his attorney general a guy who was instrumental in pardoning Iran-Contra war criminals, who very adamantly is asked for law enforcement's ability and the government's ability to have written into encrypted apps backdoor entrances for them to then go in and spy on that. And we know that the CIA can bypass encryption. We know that, but they have to dedicate an officer and use resources to do that. This is not something that's just written into like signals code, the encryption app. Vault 7 proved to us that that the CIA can bypass that, but it takes a directive. I'm going to slightly move this and see if that does anything. It may not do. You know what? Yeah. I'm really glad I'm not allergic to bees right now. So the Cloud Act, and I'm checking into the comment section right now. So I'd like to thank everyone for hanging out this morning. And I'm going to get out of here in plenty of time for people who are regular viewers of Ron Placone to do that. I will do as much as I can to not step on a fellow content creator's toes. We can't all not live stream at the same time, but it is something that I'd like to be conscientious about. So Mike Sarvis, Laney Peterson, S.H. Dingo, Ruben Garcia, Andrew Brooke. How's it going, y'all? Good morning. The Cloud Act is something that I'm going to do a separate live stream about, because I feel like it's something that needs to be broken down in a little bit more detail than I'm trying to give right here. If you see me headbutt a bee and then I freak out, it's only because I'm a pussy, not because I'm allergic. So let's roll with that. Why is Project Veritas allowed to exclusively report on leaked documents given to them about secret conversations, yet Assange is in jail? That is an excellent question, and I would assume that it has a lot to do with who is on the board of Project Veritas. But at the same time, I don't. Project Veritas isn't responsible for like collateral murder. They're not. They're doing work that should be considered groundbreaking, and they're doing work that should be considered important. I don't know. I don't have a very good answer for that, and I'm sorry about that. And I'll get you one. I will. A bunch of right-wing and fake Tim Poolish leftists who brag about the Trump administration being anti-intervention. Of course they are. Ruben, okay, I've talked about this. I don't know if I've necessarily gone into detail about it on the show, but the moment we started seeing images of the Hong Kong protests, and we started seeing mainstream media coverage of it, I immediately got on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure I said something here. I know I've talked about it in the show once or twice. The Hong Kong protests are a fucking U.S. funded color revolution. This is something that pretty much everyone in left media has gotten right. We are 40 some weeks into the Yellow Vest protests, which started out as coordinated, decentralized activism with a clear list of fucking reasonable demands for a country that wanted to be a little bit more sovereign, a little bit less surveilled. And yeah, I mean, that's about where we're at. And no coverage, nothing whatsoever about Yellow Vest protests, which are fucking amazing and have only turned violent when agent provocateurs have got into the mix and started some shit to discredit the movement. So, take your morning dab for Jesus. Tim Pool lefties. I like the way that you term that. I've said over and over and over that Tim Pool is a CIA asset, and that Tim Pool is doing the work on behalf of the oligarchs and the intelligence community to sheepdog lefties and fold them into a nice little easily surveillable, highly controlled environment. So fuck Tim Pool. In fact, dude, like, I don't want to knock. I don't want to knock Jimmy for having him on his show, but I think it's worth pointing out that Jimmy Dore had a little bit too much love for the guy because they went to the same high school or some shit like that. Tim Pool is clearly an asset. Tim Pool is clearly somebody that the intelligence communities lean on when they want a talking point to go through that wouldn't otherwise go through. So yeah, fuck Tim Pool. Zyocon propaganda outlet for Project Veritas. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with that because I did just kind of look up a little bit about him. Time we got here. It's almost 9:40. I'm gonna wrap up here. If anyone has any last minute questions, please throw them. My live streaming thing here is running really fucked up, so I don't know. Oh yeah, dude, I know all about the tobacco and spit on a bee sting. I do. Yeah, again, I wouldn't be screaming because I'm allergic. I'd be screaming because in my old age I've become quite a bit of a pussy. I'm maybe serious about that. Fight me! No, oh yeah, there's a brand new sticker on my laptop. I don't know if you can see it fully or not, but it says Rogue Ways. That was given to me by my good friend Lindsay Sharman, who hosts the show of the same name. It is it's a show for spiritual skeptics and people who really like to think outside of the box. She has interviewed some all-time legends in the truth and or conspiracy community. I highly recommend that as a show, especially if you're someone who's familiar with the higher side chats, but is kind of over the douchiness of Greg Carlwood. Rogue Ways is also the founding show of the Eyes Open Network, of which this show belongs to. And the Eyes Open Network is full of really creative people who make some cool shit and have some really cool content. Oh, that's right. I forgot Project Veritas was the fucking fake Acorn takedown guy. That in and of itself is fantastic. That fucking an organization that had shut down. Do you guys remember that, man? The GOP Congress spent like 3 years trying to push through different bills to defund Acorn when Acorn itself hadn't existed as an organization in quite a while. Like, that's the fucking cartoon that we live in. That straight there. That Cenk Ugyur naming his show The Young Turks and then flipping out over the word comrade. And all that is virtue signaling to the fucking big money that he is completely willing to play ball with them and he is completely willing to push their fucking right-wing corporate talking points as long as he's allowed to occasionally point his finger at fucking a candidate that isn't the anointed candidate. Yeah, we live in a fucking cartoon. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap for now. I will be back later today and probably this evening. But until then, I'm Steve Poikinen. This has been Slow News Day, and good luck to us all.